Some sports stars are so transcendent we recognize them by one name. First, there was the Sultan of Swat, the Babe. Then there was the man who floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee. His name was Ali. Another who made his mark with his fancy footwork went by Pele. Finally, there was one other 20th century athlete whom everybody knew by a single name. He was the five-tool player of his sport, an arm like a rocket, the footwork of a ballerina, the precision of a Swiss watchmaker, and court coverage like a panther. Most importantly, a brain like that of a surgeon, dissecting his opponents with a scalpel-like precision. They called him Sinjin. Christopher St. John Sinjin Smith came into this world in 1957, and before long was playing in the sands of Santa Monica. He was part of a large family, 4 boys, 3 girls, many of whom were athletes themselves. Sinjin got the first taste of volleyball when his older brother set up a court in the family's backyard. He had found his calling in life at an early age. Before long, he impressed the elders at Sereno Beach, and by the time he was 19, he was good enough to play tournaments with the likes of the legendary Ron Von Hagen. But Sinjin also had designs on the indoor game. He matriculated to the only program that mattered at the time. Its initials? UCLA. As soon as he arrived, so did the NCAA championships in 1976 and 1979. He was the collegiate MVP in his senior season, and when the summers came, it was back to his office on the sand. In 1977, he got his first beach win and only his third open with the diminutive but fiery Stormin' Mike Normand in the deep sands of Marine Street. But as much as he liked the beach, there was one goal that was all-encompassing: the 5 rings, the Olympics. He moved to Dayton, Ohio in 1979 to try to make the USA indoor national team as a setter, but Jimmy Carter's boycott got in the way. Then it was on to San Diego in 1980 to train for the Los Angeles Olympics of '84, but the indoor game turned out to be too confining for his outdoor lifestyle. In 1982, when he was released from the national team, it appeared as if his Olympic dreams were gone. But the beach did beckon. By that year, he was already the master of his domain. Despite splitting his time undercover and outside, Sinjin had 29 beach wins to his name. In 1979, he took a UCLA freshman under his wing. The first tournament they played together, a victory. The first of an amazing 20 wins in 25 events. His partner also split his time indoors, making the accomplishment all the more remarkable. Together, these two would put the sport of volleyball on the map. So to add to the Babe, Ali, Pele, and Sinjin would be another who was known by only one name: Karch. This epic pairing lasted only 3 years and included 2 world championships. But for those who had the privilege of watching this dynamic duo in action, they would say this was history's greatest pairing ever. So where do you go from there? Karch moves to the indoor national team full-time and takes 2 Olympic gold medals in 1984 and 1988. Sinjin stays on the beach and picks up the king of the Kong, a 6'4" behemoth by the name of Randy Stoklos. Together, they created an alchemy that produced the greatest number of victories ever by a single partnership, 114 in a span of only 12 years. They defined the sport with their complementary skills. Stoklos, the intimidator, the scariest presence at the net the sport had ever seen, but also equipped with such finesse that his hands were like velveteen. Sinjin, the cagey competitor, ready to pounce on any weakness. The slice-and-dice game so corrosive to the opponent's psyche. They knew not where the ball would land. But every great team needs a foil to prove their worthiness. So emerging from the South Bay came fire and ice. Tim Hovland and Mike Dodd. Their scintillating rivalry lasted 10 years, otherwise called the golden age of beach volleyball. While taking beach volleyball to altogether new heights on the court, Sinjin was also an evangelist for the sport off it. He helped build the Association of Volleyball Professionals and became its president. It was at this time that he realized that he could offer the game just as much outside the lines as within them. He started a clothing line, Side Out, that was one of the most successful beach apparel companies. He always gave of his time to tour sponsors, arriving at AVP locales earlier than the other players and leaving later. He joined the USA Volleyball Board of Directors to help guide the sport nationally, and committed a considerable amount of his time to the cause for well over a decade. Later still, he became a top-flight announcer, explaining the nuance of the game for millions of fans. Soon, his influence was borderless. He became beach volleyball's ambassador to the world. The FIVB, heretofore an organization solely dedicated to the indoor game, cast their wayward eye to the sand. They enlisted Sinjin to be their navigator, and thus the World Tour came to fruition. In 1987, at the age of 30, Sinjin won the first ever FIVB event in Rio de Janeiro, in a country, Brazil, where he soon became one of its most recognizable sporting figures. Soon he was not only playing on the global circuit, but also having a role in the development of all aspects of the international game as the president of the FIVB World Beach Council, a position he still holds today. One would have thought that with his numerous responsibilities both at home and internationally, that Sinjin's playing career would peter out. The sport was taking an exacting toll on his body. 6 knee surgeries, 2 wrist operations, a severed finger tendon, a broken toe, a broken nose, as well as the usual wear and tear on the elbow and shoulder. But it's hard to keep a good man down. After all, through his efforts, in 1996, beach volleyball was finally recognized as an Olympic sport. He had to play, and play he did, and then came the match. The one they call the greatest ever, the quarterfinals in Atlanta. On the other side of the net, Sinjin's old partner Karch, going for his 3rd overall Olympic gold medal, and his younger sidekick at the height of his powers, Kent Steffes, against the cagey old warrior, 39 years old, playing with rookie Carl Henkel, 1-15, a match rife with more storylines than a classic Dickens novel. And when it was over, after an epic 17-15 win, Karai and Steffes were on their way to the gold medal, and Smith and Henkel off the podium. But that match solidified the place of the sport of beach volleyball at the Olympics in the foreseeable future. Sinjin could have hung it up there, but he continued to be a force both on the court and off. In one of the most extraordinary accomplishments of one of the most illustrious careers in sport, Smith took second at the age of 43 in an FIVB event in 2000 in Belgium, beating out the eventual Olympic gold medalists Dane Blanton and Eric Fenoy Moana. Even at age 52, out on the sands of Santa Monica, Sinjin is a load for elite competitors half his age. But his greatest contributions are with that next generation and beyond. Today, he conducts youth camps and clinics all over California beaches. He commentates on both indoor and beach disciplines. He has helped to create the first ever College Open Beach Volleyball Championships, and he operates the Sinjin Smith Academy in Hawthorne, California. The numbers only tell part of the story. A world-class career encompassing 24 years and a record 416 tournament, over 140 victories, the first and only to win over 100 titles with the same partner, 7 Manhattan Open wins, and $1.6 million in prize money. All amazing accomplishments, but nothing greater than taking the sport of beach volleyball from the provincial beaches of Southern California to a national sport, and ultimately whose popularity now spans all 4 corners of the globe.